kind of exceeds our own expectations in terms of the potential size here and the significance of the project.
Welcome to the NAI 500 CEO interview program, where the senior management from select listed companies will share their insights with the audience about their company's growth potential. In this episode, we had the opportunities to speak to Robert Archer, the CEO of Newrange Gold, a TSX venture listed company with a trading symbol of NRG. Newrange Gold is a gold exploration company focused in Nevada and Red Lake. A few highlights that readers should know before watching the interview. Newrange's flagship project, Pamlico, is situated in the prolific Walker Lane Gold Trend in Nevada, one of the top gold mining jurisdictions in the world. The CEO was a co-founder of Great Panther Mining, now a mid-tier precious metals producer. The company is not just a one-project company. It also has another prospective exploration project in Red Lake with great upside potential. In the beginning of the year, the stock has been trading at 10-cent level for a while, before recently saw some growing interest in its drilling activities when the stock was trending up towards 17 to 20 cent range. If you enjoy our video, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel so you can stay alert of our future content. Hi, Bob. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thanks, Gilbert. And you?
Yeah. So maybe you can start off for some of the new audience here who have not heard about your story before. Just refresh a bit about memories, a bit about your overview of your company, Newrange Gold here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Newrange, after starting out in Colombia, transitioned into the US in 2016. And since that time has been primarily focused in Nevada on a project called Pamlico. And we more recently, last year, added another project up in northwestern Ontario in Canada in the Red Lake district called the North Birch project. And one of the key reasons that we chose those two particular jurisdictions is that they're relatively stable areas to work in, geopolitically, and what the rules are and so on. Plus the fact that they're both very prolific gold producing regions as well, because I'm sure you and your viewers have heard the old expression that the best place to find a mine is in the shadow of a headframe. In other words, if there are already mines there, then that's a great place to be looking for more. And so that's essentially what we're doing. And so the Pamlico project in Nevada continues to be our flagship. And we've just made some exciting developments there, which I'm sure you have questions about, and I'll elaborate on that. But essentially, that's the focus of the company, and it's run mainly by myself and one of the co-founders of the company, Bob Carrington. And both Bob and I have each more than 40 years experience in the industry, and have built companies, made discoveries, and so on. So there's a great depth of experience there, and we have a lot of depth on the board as well. So I think we have a very solid management team running the company.
Sure. Maybe you can just start off by talking about Pamlico, your main project here in Nevada. I know that you have some pretty interesting recent development. You have identified some skarn-hosted gold mineralization. Maybe you can tell us how significant is that?
Yeah, certainly. It's a little bit of a difference from where we started because the Pamlico project holds a past producing district that dates back to the late 1800s. And at that time, it was known as one of the highest grade gold districts in Nevada. And we certainly have found some very high grade gold in that area. But it was always a little bit of a puzzle for us geologically because it wasn't really clear as to the style of mineralization, which for an exploration geologist is kind of critical to understand, because you need to know that, and need to know what the controls are in order to be able to then extrapolate out to be able to find more. So it's very important to be able to understand what it is you're looking at. And as we started to step out and we were doing a geophysical survey called induced polarization. And as we started to test some of those targets, we started to see results that allowed us to basically reinterpret the geology of the project as a whole and see how that high-grade mineralization we had been looking at really fit into that interpretation. And as we expanded the IP survey, we realized that it was even more significant than we thought. And when we did some what we call ground truthing of those geophysical anomalies, basically going out, sending the geologists out to to walk over the ground and check the rocks, see what they could find, we basically found some a style of mineralization that geologists call skarn. That is, it's a very specific style of mineralization that has a very specific set of characteristics, such that it's relatively easy to identify. Having done that, the guys sent in their samples, and we just released last week the results of those, whereby we're getting gold and copper mineralization at surface over an area that's about 1,500 meters by 750 meters and still open in all directions. And all of that being underlain by a very, very large IP anomaly, which in itself is more than 5.5 kilometers long and up to 3 kilometers wide. So all of that tying together really kind of exceeds our own expectations in terms of the potential size here and the significance of the project, and so all of that has actually led us to more than double the size of the property through staking, and we've taken it from just over 2,500 hectares up to more than 5,700 hectares now.
Sound exciting indeed. So you mentioned earlier about the IP surveys. I understand that you use that as one of your bases to identify drilling targets or understanding your project. Or maybe you can explain a bit how this thing works.
Yeah, IP is a very useful tool in certain environments, and we're actually using it in Ontario as well, because what it does is it's an electrical method. You lay wires and electrodes out over the ground, over the surface, and then you inject an electrical current through those wires and those electrodes, and then you have a receiver that then picks up a signal of that electrical current. And depending on the signal that you get, that's then interpreted in a way that it reflects the rock that it's passing through. And so, it sounds a little bit technical or complicated, but effectively what it does is that it identifies what we call sulfides, or mainly pyrite in most cases. And pyrite is more commonly known as fool's gold, but it is very commonly associated with real gold. And that's what we're looking for in this particular case. We know that the gold at Pamlico is associated with pyrite. Now, I mean, having said that, there's a lot more pyrite out there than there is gold. So, the reverse is not always true. You can find a lot of pyrite without any gold in it. But certainly the gold is associated with pyrite. So it does become a good tool for targeting and using that for drilling, because if you have a good strong chargeability anomaly, IP anomaly, then and you drill that, then you can be reasonably sure that you're going to at least get the pyrite, because there is no direct method of detecting gold, unfortunately. I wish there was, but I guess if there was, there would be a lot more of it found.
Indeed. That would make life much easier for any of us.
It certainly would. It'd probably put us out of a job. Yeah.
So let's discuss a bit about your project here in Red Lake. What's the potential there, and how does it compare to Pamlico? Is it a different kind of mineralization?
It's very different, actually. Yes. I mean, for one thing, the rocks are much older, so it's a very different geological environment completely. And so in exploring there, we can't compare that geological environment with the one at Pamlico, for example. And so the environment that we're dealing with at this North Birch project in the Red Lake area is really more analogous to other deposits in that particular area. One known as Musselwhite, that's about 190 kilometers north of there, and another one that's actually known as Pickle Lake, that's a little over 100 kilometers to the east. And these are what we call iron formation hosted gold deposits. And they get their name from the rock that they're hosted in, which is called an iron formation, is, as the name suggests, very rich in iron. And it's highly magnetic. It shows up on the magnetic geophysical surveys, and from those, we can interpret the folding and shearing pattern of the rocks, and that those characteristics are important from a mineralizing standpoint. Again, in a way similar to the sense that a skarn is very specific. This style of deposit also is very specific, albeit different, and it has its own set of characteristics. And so that's what we've been looking for there. The one thing that they do have in common is that in the iron formation deposits, the gold is also associated with sulfides, with either pyrite or pyrrhotite, and you can often detect those with IP. So we've also conducted an IP survey at North Birch and come up with some nice anomalies there that we intend to drill as well. So in terms of potential, we have 8 kilometers of strike length along the main target horizon, and it's never been drilled by anyone. So there's certainly a lot of area to work with there. And in terms of size, the Musselwhite mine just to the north is somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 million ounces past production and reserves. It's owned and operated by Newrange Gold Corp. And the Pickle Lake area to the east is, I think, a little over 2 million ounces in that district. But the largest of these is actually in South Dakota in the US, and that was more than 40 million ounces. So, these can be very large deposits. I'm not suggesting that this one is going to be 40 million, but nonetheless, they certainly make a good, a good exploration target. So we're looking forward to drilling that one as well.
Okay. So from the recent insider reports, I noticed that you've been buying some of the Newrange stocks in recent months. So yeah, we're interested to know how many shares that you own the company, and what are there other major shareholders in the company also.
Well, yeah, that's true. I have been buying more shares this year. Back in January, February timeframe, I bought a little over 1 million shares in the open market, and then when we did our financing recently, I purchased another 1 million units in the financing as well. So right now, I think my shareholdings are a little over 4 million plus warrants and options and so on. But yeah, a little over 4 million free trading shares. And in terms of other shareholders, amongst the insiders, I would say Bob Carrington that I mentioned, co-founder, and his wife Gloria, who was president of the Colombian subsidiary when we were working there. I'm not sure exactly how many they own, but they're certainly, I think, collectively probably a little more than me. And then our CFO, Dave Cross, is a fairly large shareholder as well as the other members of the board. So, collectively, insiders own about 9% of the company, and institutions also own somewhere in the neighborhood of 9%. Those institutions ranging from Perth, Australia, through Toronto, and over to Europe, Switzerland, London, that sort of thing. And we've got some very large, high net worth shareholders as well that own a sizable block of shares. So very, very strong. The company's in very strong hands.
Yeah, so definitely a sign that we call it having a skin in the game.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, so in summary, do you want to tell us a bit about what are the catalysts and what investors should look for in the next 6 to 12 months time for Newrange?
Sure. Well, we're actively drilling at Pamlico. We started again in late May, early June. We're using a diamond drill this time around as opposed to the reverse circulation drill that we were using before. And one of the key reasons for that is you get a lot more geological information from the diamond drill. We are following up right now on a high-grade zone that we discovered just near the end of the last drill program and never had a chance to follow up on it. So we're doing that now, and we do anticipate some good results coming back from that. Those will be the first results we see, and then we'll step out from there and start to test some of the deeper IP anomalies that I mentioned, and including the skarn, and there's what we call a porphyry target in that same area as well that has significant size potential. So I think at Pamlico we'll see a real steady news flow over the coming months as drill results come in, and then at North Birch, we're looking forward to a summer program up there of mapping, sampling, and drilling those IP targets up there as well. So I think it's going to be a very busy 6 months or so. And I mentioned that we did a financing recently and raised $3 million, so $1 million in flow through for Red Lake and $2 million for Nevada. So the company's well financed and very active. So should be a steady news flow.
Yeah, thank you, Bob, indeed, for giving us a great update about Newrange Gold today.
My pleasure, Gilbert.
Thank you for your time, and we'll see you next time.
You bet. Look forward to it.
Yeah, thank you. If you enjoy our video, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel so you can stay alert of our future content.